Hey, how's it going? I'm Dan Williams, and you're listening to my new podcast. This has been created in the midst of the coronavirus pandemic, with so many people self-isolating and unable to get outdoors, and with an ever-increasing amount of people out of work. An inspiring entrepreneurial explosion is taking place. However, many don't know where to begin, or they find the whole process overwhelming. With some of my amazing connections and friends, I want to share some stories and insights to help inspire and ignite that fire within you. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce my guest on the show and friend, Mr. Mark Curry, background virologist, science teacher, a Mars grad scheme, senior buyer at Boots, an entrepreneurial failure and an entrepreneurial success, although he keeps saying he's failing every day. So welcome, Mark. Cheers for coming on. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, sir.
No worries. How are things going? All good?
Yeah, I mean, as good can be in circumstances right now. But yeah, I think the world continues to change. And I think if you are someone who's got that entrepreneurial spirit, the world looks a lot better than versus most. And there's an opportunistic / psychotic nature about you. So yeah, we are healthily planning for the worst, but hoping and creating stuff for the best, I think, is where we're at right now.
Good stuff. Well, the reason why we wanted to do this is you always hear from people all the time going, oh, I wish I had more time to do this. I wish I had more time to do that. And now everyone's got this abundance of time on their hands, which is normally this precious resource. So everyone's sat around, and I've been getting a load of feedback from people wanting to hear from people that have done it and they can get inspired. So hence why it's great to speak to you. So do you want to just take us through a bit of your journey, how you got here, and then I'll chip in a little bit and ask a few more questions on the way.
Yeah, no problem. And congrats, this is a great idea. So I was probably one of those ones that always thought, oh, I'd love to do this, love to do that. And somewhere along the way would bottle it at a key stage or whatever. But I always describe my background as a checkered history. And I always used to get picked up when I was transitioning through careers, as I'll say in a bit, that I'm not very consistent. But it's only when you get towards the end of something or you realize it that, like Steve Jobs says, somehow dots connect and it all seems to make sense. And the purpose that you're on, which you didn't really know at the time, starts to come a bit sharper as you grow older. I'm definitely in that camp. But I didn't go to uni straight away. I fell out of love with education in A levels and blagged my way onto a graduate accountancy scheme. Would you believe it? And then I went to see someone in the second month of my job. I was loving life, like earning money.
And that was Mars, wasn't it?
No, this was pre. I was straight out of school into this small accounting firm with a load of graduates that had been to uni. And then I went to visit some of my mates at uni and I was like, oh my God, yeah, I gotta go. So then went to Imperial College down in London, studied virology and immunology, which is very topical right now, and loved it, but didn't have the fire to continue my dissertation into a PhD. I started out thinking I would, but then didn't feel right and didn't feel like I had that fire and the energy to do it. So I actually was a science teacher for 2 years. I did the Teach for America program when it first came to the UK, in a poor special measures school in London. Because I thought,
what was that for?
Sorry?
What ages were they that you were teaching?
11 to 16.
Oh, okay.
Kids are unbelievable, challenging because of the circumstances around them. But great kids with unfortunate backgrounds, and that unfortunately in today's world means more than most, unfortunately. So really, really good experience, but I was quite bored intellectually. So went to do the grad scheme at Mars, spent some great time here, unbelievable learning how business should be done, but very slow, very bureaucratic. And then met someone at Boots.
Who was when you were at Mars? Like, was there anyone that you looked up to in that business, or was everyone a bit more like blue chip and really weren't doing what you, or had the same mindset at that point?
It was a bit more crafted, I'd say, the development in that company, because they really are on the leading edge of personal development. So you going through the scheme, especially, I had my very close mentor and friend who I've become godfather to their children. Like, she was my first boss in finance, and I learned very quickly that I was never going to be an FD. So I was never going to stick in the like finance route. But she was of great help and great support, and spent time with me when I was struggling. I was this cocky little ex-teacher, I never really fit into a particular box, and she just spent the time and saw past the bravado, and really taught me loads of stuff. And you almost could curate your own network around you to really support you in that blue chip environment, and it was fantastic. And I didn't regret a single day there, because it taught me a hell of a lot.
Yeah.
And then at Boots, it was really good to get close to the customer. And one thing Boots was awesome at was taking the customer-centric route on most things. It wouldn't necessarily seem like that, but they generally and genuinely start there. And that's what I took from that experience in particular. And some really good people there who had massive jobs, but kept it dead simple in trying to execute that and pull it through. But I always had something inside that made me want to do my own thing. And there was plenty of things that I nearly did. I nearly did a all natural sugar confectionery business before I joined Mars. It all linked to food, actually. I nearly did a healthy food takeaway before I joined Boots, but then completely bottled it because I thought I'd never run a food business in my life. But then things felt
from Mars, which like I would definitely say, like from my background, which is these smaller kind of little independent businesses, but like blue chip, and you thought maybe it's not the right thing, and you go Boots, which again I'd say is like more corporate, not quite so as Mars, but still. And all the time though, you had this like underlying entrepreneurial thing, but you still gave Boots a crack though and learned a lot from it, did you? So.
Yeah, I think it just wasn't the right time. I'd have, and I'll come on to speak about failures in a sec, I know, but I just felt like I wasn't equipped. I didn't know my arsehole from my ear roll, really, when it comes to running a business. And I just felt like I had more to learn. And I could have gone into smaller businesses. I had quite a few offers to go into smaller businesses, but just didn't feel right at that time. But at Boots, looking at and being in the type of categories and jobs I was at, I was working with the Reckitt Benckises and the Procters and Gamble's and like the mega corporations and Unilevers and what have you. But then seeing magic in the smaller businesses, but just the lack of resource or talent or sheer spend to make things happen in the way that it really should. So that's where I kind of realized, actually, a lot of people often say poacher turned gamekeeper, but I don't think that's necessarily right. I think it's more about having a general awareness of trying to genuinely try and create win-win-wins out of scenarios. Because I think if you ask the salesperson what's his buyer thinking, they'd massively weight power to the buyer. And if you ask a buyer what's the salesperson thinking, they'd weight the bias the other way. So
Awesome.
I think it's I think having a balance of that experience helped in the first business that I started, because I went straight from Boots into a bootstrap startup with family and friends' money, which was a great experience for 2 years, and we did some good things together, my friend.
I was gonna say that's where we met at that point, isn't it? That was the one.
So me and Dan met in 2014, believe it or not.
How long ago it was now, is it?
Yeah.
There were definitely some ups and downs in that one. Yeah.
And like all good business, like all startups, there's a lot of fire and energy, and there's always a blue touch moment which most businesses can get to. The hard part is the aftermath of that, and that's where things started to go wrong for me. I think you get locked in your own head a lot, and you're in. Things just seem inescapable, and you make choices based on completely the wrong decisions, and you don't ask for help, and you feel guilty, and then you feel
And
like
why don't
you
you
can't.
think you ask for help in those situations? Just a pride thing more than anything, or
I think it was a combination of pride, embarrassment, um, like having to put food on the table. You know, genuinely, that's why I would never ever, anyone who's ever had a business idea or tried to make something work, I'm always full of the utmost respect, because until you've walked that path and felt that pressure, and it's not like a pressure of going to work, it is literally a pressure of, unless you do something, you know, you're not going to be getting paid, you're not going to be able to pay the rent or the mortgage or the food bills or whatever. And until you've lived under that pressure, it's very difficult to explain it. And I always used to, again, cocky, I always used to say, no, don't bother kind of trying to do something on the side. You need to be all in. You need to get after it. Like almost this pariacal kind of call to be an entrepreneur. But in retrospect, like, man, I wish I was a lot more tempered and slower and then faster, and like the ability to dial up the slowness and then get faster. But I just went balls deep straight away, smashed into it, and made a mistake. And it's the first time I've ever really failed. You know, I didn't really have to try massively hard at school, or you have to work hard. You know, don't get me wrong, I work hard, I work a hell of a lot and always put the hours in, but intellectually nothing was really too difficult. But it was only until that point in my first business, which did fail, that I'd
and it was a
failed.
monumental one, wasn't it? Like it wasn't like when I say monumental, I don't mean everything could have been avoided and stuff like that. But from a failure perspective, this is what I'm finding like amazing for the people that hopefully will benefit from this is if you fail to get a listing and it is down as a failure and you can learn and you can go again and stuff like that. But this was just like business failure and
Yeah,
everything you've just been describing, the stresses about not knowing the money and doing all this and the livelihood and
yeah,
mortgages and stuff. You then went again. So it wasn't like, oh, I can't avoid doing this again, like, or I want to avoid doing this again. You can't. So what was like your biggest? Because everyone always says that you progress and you learn more from failures than you do from your wins, and like you're
yeah.
testament to that. What was it like? What was the big like learnings from that failure?
Oh man, there's so many. Uh, like I really let down friends and family. Like you wouldn't believe I let you down. I think it's fair to say you'd have been really pissed off at me.
Well, it's
Um,
because yeah, people take things personally, don't they? Like
yeah,
we were like invested in it together from that side, from time
yeah,
and
yeah.
businesses. But yeah, we didn't speak for a while, not
No,
because we're falling out. It's just like things just happened, didn't they? And then other people
yeah.
put it in. But yeah,
And you had every right to be absolutely not to me. You know, it cost you and your business money. You know, that's fact. Um, but I never forget that. And I think that one day, you know, I always think that when I face the pearly gates, I need to have kind of paid a lot of things forward and paid a lot of things off, not just cash but conscious as well.
yeah.
And that, like, family and friends fall in that bucket. You've fallen into that bucket, and you know things mend. And time's a great healer, and time's a great teacher as well. And um, I think that I've become a lot more. And Colette, and my business partner now and partner, would be pissing herself if she heard me say this, but you know, I'm way more tempered, way more chill than I used to be. I used to fire into things and be explosive and have massive ideas, and now I think it's a lot more pared back. And I know that comes with experience and stuff, but
Do you think that's having um like a yin to your? Is it yin and yang? I
yeah,
always get confused with the words, but you're always going to want to have those big ideas and those big bang moments, aren't you? But have you with Colette? Do you find that that really like balances it out? Like,
yeah. I often think, how the hell did I do this on my own? Um, yeah, just so difficult. And I think we joke about it, but I always think of like tomorrow and she thinks of today, to that extent of different not just skill sets, but personalities as well. And I think I'll always push the envelope and think outside the box, but that's good to an extent because it just shifts the total like masses a little bit.
Yeah.
It's nothing's going to be a paradigm shift. So you always need that person who's pushing the envelope, but the other person who's kind of bringing everyone with it. So I think the ideal scenario for me, and it's not for everyone, would be to find someone just to talk, to hash things out to as well. So go back to your point on what did you learn? Like, don't take money from friends and family unless you have to.
Right. Okay.
If you could do things,
well, that's always the easiest route, obviously, the first go-to, isn't it?
yeah, and it's not to say that it's wrong to do so, but you just need to get comfortable with it yourself. And I don't think I ever got comfortable with it. I think I took it. I don't know. I always joke that
you'd have just been so confident that it was going to work out and everyone was going to get their money back. So,
yeah, I joke that you have to be a psycho in business because you could be having the very worst day, but then one of your customers might call, and you have to like be everything and like everything's fine and like swan type of like, but the being unable to pull that apart was tough. And I think being unable to have incorporated some fresh perspective into the main decisions that we were making or that was just happening around us. I think we started out happening to the world and we ended up just being buffeted by it quite a bit, and that was down to me and no one else. And I'll come onto it in a bit, but when I eulogize now about be clear why are you doing everything, and if you're not dead clear on why, you should be doing it in the first instance. And man, there were so many decisions, mini decisions that grew to be big things, but also decisions on like cash and investment. And that all the things that I did was from the wrong space and from the wrong start point, and it just led to a complete impasse. And and that was that. And then you're right. And my ex-wife now would just say, just go and get a job. Just go and get a normal job. And I couldn't do it.
Once it's there, though, you can't do it, can you? I couldn't see you just working now. That why is important, isn't it? We're both a big fan of Simon Sinek, and I know you both. Yeah, exactly. So that's a big recommendation, by the way. Start with Why is an amazing book from Simon Sinek. If you look at any of his TED Talks, his videos, everything, he's on LinkedIn, all the social media platforms. Definitely check him out. But you buy that book, don't you, for all your new starters as well?
Yeah, I do, yeah, it's my little thing. It's my little thing. I've got one over there actually.
I bought copies and announced it on LinkedIn if anyone wanted one, and then was like completely overwhelmed. So then became like the biggest purchase of that book. Exactly. I think, and just gifted out a few copies. But no, I definitely recommend that one. So
yeah, I couldn't get my head around going to a normal job. I gave myself basically 3 months, and I think that's one thing that startup journey forces you to do. Is it like forces you to assess what's important to you, what literally are your outgoings, because particularly if you're working right now, I mean, a lot of people will not be soon, but if you're working right now, you forget the heroin of a wage, and you think that you are a lot safer than maybe you really are. And it's difficult to get hooked out of actually what really are your expenses, what's your cash out, because there's a lot of discretionary spending there and some stuff you probably didn't even know about. But until you really get a handle on that, you then go, okay, so I can afford to just live off that. Everything else then is a choice. And are you putting that pound towards living or treating yourself, or are you putting that pound to the business at the end of the day, which is hard for a lot of people to come to terms with.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm pretty unemployable.
Yeah.
There was only one route for me to go, and here we are. And there's a few businesses out of it just by sheer path that we went on in the last couple of years. But I think the difference with this one is I wouldn't do too many things different.
Yeah.
I think life has a funny way of figuring out a general sense of fairness in the mix, and yeah, I think we're in a really good space. And I know we joked about you'd say it's successful, and most people
Do you want to say
ironically.
who it is?
Oh yeah, so the INKEY List.
Yeah. We
Yeah, so
haven't mentioned much before then. I don't want to dwell on the failings, but this is massive. So, like,
yeah. So the INKEY List is really well. It's doing really well. But it's 18 months old.
retail, where?
Yeah, retold in Sephora globally as a key exclusive partnership in over 32 countries now, I think, and in the UK with the likes of Boots and Cold Beauty and Hut Group and Feel Unique and some really nice online partners and ASOS. But yeah, globally it's doing really well. It would have done, a good $10 million last year, retail sales out minimum, and we got a good momentum right now, COVID-19 aside. But yeah, like really good success. But even before that, like we've learned how not to do things in the way, but on a lot more smaller scale, and just finding that way to get to that real minimum viable product in the most real fashion.
And what sparked the idea? Like, how did you literally? Because it was quite rapid from the last one, and then you came up with this one. Was that
Yeah,
the plan for that, or you chatting?
so it was actually LinkedIn. Um, I still wanted to do this multi-branded model because, as I have known all too well, and you will have known too, having manufactured quite a few, but a lot of startups fail. It's an unfortunate fact that not a lot of, I think it's 0.1%, maybe 0.1% of businesses last 3 years or more. So it's a real hard numbers game, and to I was fascinated by having this multi-branded model because whilst they might not work, there could be one that comes out and you could really build and scale around, and that's what happened. I would say we lucked out. People would say you might put yourselves in a position to just be in the right place at the right time with the right thing.
Just for
But
people that don't know about the multi model.
branded model.
Yeah. Just give some people like a bit of
Yeah,
a.
so it's more like the same company does more than one brand at once. So we had a body care brand that was actually doing really well, and we were about to go into America with. We had a tiny lip care brand that is still only sold on Amazon, and we don't really spend a penny on it, and that's still going. We had a really bad brand, a great idea, but really bad execution that we absolutely failed at, and lost a couple of £100,000 on. And then actually
Not
we've got,
family and friends money.
it's not families and friends money, no, learning one. And then we had another skincare brand that we co-developed at the same time as the INKEY List, and we had a choice. And this is where kind of having board representatives that think outside, like that challenge you, really does matter. Because if I was on my own, even if it was me and Colette, we could have like fought about it, and we could have just done a little bit of each. But we overtly picked the INKEY List for all the right reasons to solely focus on and really get after. And we're still reaping that fruit today. And that's not to say it's easy. Every week is really hard. And as you know, as one of our real key global partners, something happens in China and all of a sudden you're a week behind, and we're going, oh, Dan, help us out. You're going, I'm doing everything I can. Everything will happen. And that's why I value our kind of relationship, I guess, because we've been through really tough times together and come out the other side. And it's easy to do business in good times.
Yeah.
Really easy to
I think
business in good times.
relationships in our industry are like pivotal. I know they are to me,
Yeah.
but even after that first one, the reason why you and I ended up chatting again like we did was because you were getting advice from people saying there was someone you needed to work with for speed and things like that. And I was getting told there's this brand out there that I need to be talking to, and then suddenly we're asking the names. It's like, oh, here we go again, deja vu. But we had a coffee. It was all good after that, wasn't it? So
Yeah, we did. Yeah, and you absolutely nailed it in terms of that description. It was exactly that, low level, person on person and one to one. I think, you know, relationships and people are at the center of everything. Really, everything else around it kind of happens. But people being front and center of everything really counts. And yeah, I guess you underestimate the network that you create over time, for sure. Because it's easy to have almost a single serve relationship in those, particularly in those early starter days. You could be shiny and new, and it's really good to strike up a relationship with a key buyer or a key manufacturer or a key whoever. But unless you're kind of going to then deliver and then re-deliver and then be consistent and then talk and keep communication channels, even if you really don't want to have the conversation, yeah, it's really important that that relationship stays solid, because it will see you good, through the good and bad, which is different if I think of me 5 years ago, for sure.
Yeah, I think it's key. We try and break down barriers as much as we can from you were talking about earlier, like the buyer and the brand mentality. So we have suppliers, customers, and internal suppliers and customers, and we try and treat everyone exactly as it should be. Everyone treats the same, and hopefully it's really good from that. But no, it's incredible. It's incredible what you're doing. So what would be like for people now that are literally sat at home with a million ideas like whizzing around? What would be your advice? Like, I was going to say one bit, but there might be several bits of advice you'd give to these people, because you've been there, I haven't been there. So
There's a few things, so I'll try and keep it to three. The three most important ones that jump off the straight off the bat that I'm thinking in the moment, because I really should have prepared for this probably. But I think you always know in your gut about something. I know that sounds a bit wishy-washy, but there's something about your gut as a blend of just general sense and feeling mixed with information and intel that you have. Because I think your gut tells you generically how to survive, from a kind of biological perspective, and your brain probably convinces you something else, I think, a lot of the time. So there's something about listening to your gut and not completely dismissing it. But from a what to do perspective, you've got to do something that you feel comfortable like going all in on. And I think if you are very, very clear on why you are doing something, you can pretty much distill everything else away. So if you've got 5 ideas, and you've got really clear passions or really clear energy in one direction, or you really want to like land something in 5-10 years time, think on that end in mind mentality of where you want to be, you probably be able to distill 1 or 2 real key things that you could really focus on. So I think following passion and following curiosity is really key, and make sure you're starting from the reason why you're doing it. And then the last thing would be like energy, like just give it everything. And because you're going to face way more no's than yeses, way more. You have to break down and almost rebound into the next conversation with the same amount of enthusiasm and passion, in spite of maybe getting bullied and broken down a bit before. And you just have to there's probably a famous quote to it, but I remember someone saying, if failure is not the act of falling down, but the reluctance to get back up, or something like that.
Nice. I haven't heard that.
And I think that's key. Like, as an entrepreneur, as a startup in particular, you have to be able to get straight back up, dust yourself off, and go again with the same gusto and gumption that you had before.
I don't think that would be possible if, going back to your number 2, which was do something you're passionate about and love doing.
Yeah.
You're not doing that. When you keep getting these knockbacks, you're going to really quickly get a little bit lackluster and despondent, and just think, well, you've got to. It can't be about money, and it can't be about all the other stuff, like giving back, all this stuff that everyone's hearing all the time at the moment. It couldn't be truer. I think you're a testament to that. I think it's incredible.
Oh no, you can't.
Well, resilience actually isn't one thing we mentioned at all, but clearly resilience is like massive from when you had your knockbacks and stuff like that. But yeah.
Yeah, and people get it in lots of ways. And like, oh, I look at you when you do your like triathlon training and stuff. You must hit brick wall on brick wall and brick wall, depending on what you're kind of doing, and having to like smash through it and get through the other side. Like, it takes training. It does take like mental training almost.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's very, very similar. But yeah, you're right. There's probably a virtuosity to the thinking behind it. But I mean, one thing you can't be in this for is for money. I'm way poorer in every sense right now. Doesn't matter about what a bit of paper says. It doesn't even matter. I think if you're in it for money,
richer in so many other ways as well. Like your daughter and Colette and everything else that's going on in your life. Pretty.
Yeah, hugely. I think. I think if you zoom in on those three things, I think you'd be relatively happy. You know, there's days which are horrific. You know, you might have lost money. Something really unsavory might happen, or one of your people's really hurt, and you need to do something about it. There's some really bad days, and I think you come out the other end of it, and you feel happier. Probably the happiest I've ever been. Right now, because it feels like I said at the beginning, feels like the dots are all connected, and this brand is enabling me to like touch on my science background and my teaching background, and working with like manufacturers like you, and like stitching it all together and doing this one thing that is connecting with everyone. It just it feels pretty good right now, but it is a summation of lots of ups and downs and lefts and rights, and the general belief that things are going to get better, and an openness, I guess, to admitting some stuff that you're not so good at, or learning from failures is probably rock solid in there as a key driver.
Yeah, to work out there. Well, you're using this like I say, quiet time. It's not quiet time with the pandemic going on, but you guys have been a bit more active on and you've been on Instagram anyway. But with the INKEY, like you're doing Q&As and helping people out a lot more from stuff, because you know that people are sat around at home. So you're really using that as an opportunity to do a lot more, aren't you? And then you use the virology background as well to help with the fear and stuff around the.
Yeah, I mean, I've never, like, I post once a year or something stupid, but I felt like I'm not a doctor, so it's probably my biggest regret actually that I didn't do medicine. But I can't like nip to the hospital and help. So it's just one of these ways that helping friends and family just felt like I could do. And if anyone jumps in on it, that's great. If I help one person, that's great. If someone's going to feel informed and so they know why they're even not doing something, or why they feel like they should do something, that's equally fine, as long as they've got the right knowledge to do it. But it's definitely forced us as a brand to be way more digital, and we probably needed that kick up the jacksie, to be honest, because we were just so like running from next thing to next thing. But I mean, this whole situation is a great time to pause, reflect, and pivot. Because no one will have the answers, and the world will change every day. In fact, change is dead cert to be the only thing that is certain in the next few months, 12 months, 18 months or so. So going back to how do you stay able to adapt and react to that change is all we're doing right now.
What about your team? How are they coping with the whole thing? How have you been with them?
Oh man, it's really tough. So we've now got 32 people, in 3 different time zones. So when one team's going to bed, the other team's waking up, and they're all alone. We've had 3 people join our business in the middle of this.
Amazing.
So they've literally not met anyone. We met them outside the office, gave them a laptop, or sent a laptop to their home and said, "Welcome to B." Yeah. So really, they feel quite alone, and some of them get into funks, like probably a lot of us do. And you have to be there and pick them up and tell them to put the laptop down, because I guess there's no distinguishing feature between the days right now.
No, definitely.
So maintaining mental health is hard, particularly with younger guys as well. So we've got a couple of older people now and more senior people, but we've got a lot of like mid-20s, early 30s people that are living in cities, and they're cooped up in flats and what have you, and it's really tough.
Yeah. How are you staying in touch with those guys, especially the new ones? How are they getting introduced to the company and the team as a whole?
So we've got like an induction program. Their line manager speaks to them 2-3 times a day. Everything. Well, we got Slack mainly, and then we Zoom like this, quite a bit as well. We do one big weekly update on a Friday with everyone on. We tried to do something beforehand if the tone's right, for a bit of fun, but trying to get face.
What do you do for that?
Oh, there's been quizzes, and there's been
cool.
like, I don't know, there was some singing, and I don't know what else there was, but there was loads of stuff. Obviously, I'm an active participator in that. I'm mainly in the background going,
so important though, isn't it? We're trying to stay in touch like that with so many people at the moment with Zoom. It's been insane. And have everyone in your business from the brand side, are they were they all comfortable on video calls initially, and how's that progressed? Or
no, it's a really good point. I think some people really quiet. You've got some obvious characters, if you're to do Myers-Briggs, you've got every single one of them in there.
Yeah, sure.
So really, really hard, and you have to almost, as the leaders of the business, make sure that you're bringing some people in and giving a pause and a platform for the more quiet people or the introverts to have their voice and have their say as well. So really, really difficult to get the balance right, and I'm sure we're not a lot of the time, but I think people could pick up. I think staying accessible and for people to pick up the phone is key. And between me and Colette, I'd say we talk or message or DM or whatever your social media platform to every single one. I'd say most of the week.
Yeah.
So we are sociable and accessible as the two people leading the business.
Yeah, you can see a social brand anyway, aren't you? That's the point.
Yeah. And I guess what it has done is encourage everyone to join in as well. So all the team are like doing their own skincare routines and being filmed on social, and you're getting a bit more of a window into who's behind the brand beyond just like me and Colette, which can only be a good thing. No one wants to see an old weathered and leathered nearly 40-year-old talking about skincare all the time, that's for sure.
Everyone's just got to look at this weathered and tethered near 40-year-old talking to so many different people. Cool. That's perfect. How, if people want to look at your brand and speak to you or Colette, how do they get hold of you guys?
Yeah, so go to the INKEYLIST.com. You'll be able to speak to our team 24/7, 365, ask them anything. If you want to get hold of me and Colette, you can find us easily, Mark Curry and Colette Laxton on LinkedIn. Very, very easy to get on, not very secretive. We should be out there. Or if you're struggling, go to the INKEYLIST.com, drop us an email, and we'll get back to you.
Cool, perfect. Well, cheers for this evening, Mark. I know it's a late one for you, so cheers. Thank you very much. Hopefully everyone will really appreciate everything you've had to say. I know it's been great for me. Learned so much more than I didn't know already, which is ace. So thanks again, mate. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, buddy. Take care.
Cheers. All the best.